So you're taking a class and you were just really, really bored out of your mind. Maybe you thought this was going to be something you'd enjoy, or maybe you're forced to take this class for your major or for whatever other requirement. But regardless, you're in this class and you're stuck in it for the long haul. Believe it or not, there actually is a couple ways to make classes like this more interesting. And you can take a class that initially you might have hated and that you would have been super bored in, and you can make it more enjoyable for yourself, or at least bearable. And before I explain how to do this, I think it's important that we actually go over the reasons that you might be bored in a class. And I've broken it down into three different possible reasons why a class is boring you. The first reason is that the subject to you just is not interesting. So, maybe you signed up for a train history class for whatever reason, and you just could not care less about this subject. Second, the class is too easy. You feel like it's a joke, and every time you show up, you feel like you might as well not even be listening because it's so simple, it's so elementary that you feel like even just paying attention is a waste of your time. And the third reason is that the class is just too difficult. So you go to class, you try your best to understand what's going on, but regardless of how hard you focus, you find that you just cannot follow what's going on and you feel less motivated to actually listen to what's going on in the class, and you kind of just start zoning out. And I think there's a different way to approach all three of these issues. So the first issue I mentioned, you simply don't care about the subject matter of the class. I think the easiest way to make classes like this more enjoyable for yourself is to try to take whatever topic it is and try to relate this to something that you are interested in. So for example, say you're pre-med and you want to be a doctor and you're forced to take a genetics class and you couldn't really care less about genetics. If you think instead about how knowing genetics might better inform your medical diagnoses as opposed to, oh, I have to do all these crosses and learn about pea plants, then you're going to be much more motivated to actually pay attention and enjoy the class. Because of course, if we don't see how a class is relevant to what we want to do, what we want to accomplish, then we're not going to be at all interested in whatever's going on. And even if it's completely irrelevant to whatever job you want or whatever you're passionate about, there are still other ways we can spin these topics to make it relevant for ourselves. For example, I'm looking into grad school for psychology, and I just take an organic chemistry class back in college. And the way I made this more interesting for myself, even though it's not really relevant to what I want to do, I rationalized that it would make me better at problem solving and just thinking overall, which would benefit my other grad school pursuits. At the end of the day, you need to make it relevant to whatever you're pursuing. And now the second problem, the class is just too easy and you're not motivated to pay attention. This might be especially problematic for you if your major is more difficult and you find that the majority of your classes are pretty difficult, but then you're taking a one-off, much easier class. So you're so used to the fast-paced, really difficult classes that you kind of think of the class as beneath you or not worth your time. And the best way to get over this problem, counterintuitively, is to limit your distractions completely. So say usually you go to class and you don't even want to listen, so you just hop on your computer and say watch YouTube or play video games or something else like that. Interestingly enough, even though you think you might be having more fun because you're just goofing off on your computer, when you're doing these activities, it makes the class itself seem more boring in comparison. Because you're essentially reasoning to yourself, if I show up to this class and I'm not even listening to any of the information, I'm just doing my own thing, then obviously the information must not be interesting, so I should just not listen even more. But if you want to convince your mind that this is something worth pursuing and something worth paying attention to, then again, counterintuitively, you actually have to force yourself almost to just listen more and get rid of these other side distractions. You might have had the experience that you were in a boring class and you would always goof off or do other things on your computer, but then one class, you decided to kind of just listen because you figured might as well, and you actually ended up learning something interesting. It's these little tidbits and these little bits and pieces that we pick up when we're actually listening that you miss out on when you're just zoning out and doing other stuff. And even though you might think the class is boring, therefore I'm going to distract myself, a lot of the time it works the other way around. The class is boring because you're distracting yourself and you're not getting the full picture, you're not getting the full experience. So if you find that you can't pay attention in classes because you're just bored the entire time, I challenge you to at least for one or two classes, get rid of the distractions, stay off your computer, and just challenge yourself to pay attention the entire class. At first it's going to be difficult because you're not used to it, you think the class is beneath you and whatever else. But I want to challenge you for at least one or two classes, just listen to what the professor has to say. And I think you actually will be more interested than you would think. This habit of not listening is a self-fulfilling prophecy, and it can make you much more bored than you would be otherwise. And now the third problem, you don't enjoy the class because it's just too difficult and you don't feel motivated to learn. This could be because of a hard subject matter, maybe the professor just sucks and they're not teaching well and you feel like you're not getting a lot out of the lessons. And in my opinion, the best way to get over not enjoying a class because it's too difficult is just to get better at that class, which sounds like a stupid thing to say. Of course, easier said than done. But if you're struggling in a class and you're having trouble comprehending the information that's being taught to you, by default, it's going to be a lot less enjoyable because, of course, we enjoy things more that we're good at and we enjoy things less when we're not good at them. So in this case, it's really up to you to find every single avenue you can to get better at the class, to either boost your grade or boost your comprehension, or do whatever else you have to do to make it make more sense to you. A lot of people go into difficult classes with the mindset of, you know what, this is too difficult, I might as well not even care, I'm not going to try. But you would be surprised with some extra effort how much more enjoyable a class can become when you're legitimately just doing well at it. There have been several classes back when I was in college that I really didn't enjoy them at the beginning because, say, I did bad on the first quiz or two, and I was considering just, giving up, zoning out during class. But just that extra effort, that extra push to just do better in the class really made later on in those classes, later in the semester, just so much more enjoyable. Because again, this is a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's positive feedback. The more we do well in a class, the more we're going to be motivated to listen and keep doing well in that class. So really just building that initial momentum is crucial. So just to recap, the 3 reasons why you might be super bored in a class. First, the subject matter just isn't relevant to what you want to do. You have to find reasons why it's relevant to what you want to do and the kind of person you want to become. Second, you just find the class is too easy and that it's not worth your time. Locking in and just paying attention for a couple classes and devoting your full attention to it, most likely you'll find things that do interest you and you'll realize it's more interesting than you initially thought. Third, the class is too difficult for you. It's up to you to find any way to get better at the class, whether this is going to office hours, spending more time studying for the class, reviewing notes ahead of time. Really, any way to get ahead will boost your enjoyment immensely. And I really hope you guys can find these tips useful. I really appreciate you watching until the end. If you like videos like this on studying, productivity, learning, and really anything else college related, I really suggest you subscribe. There's going to be a whole lot more videos like this soon, but until then, I'll see you guys.